What's up, Ken?
Hey, Ralph. How you doing?
I just got my phone back. I feel like a liberated person.
Had to be replaced?
Yeah, not only had to be replaced, it's funny because I guess there was a new update yesterday or today. So the phone that I got, the new 11, wasn't up to date. So it didn't want to switch over. Plus, it was having issues with my other phone I wasn't able to open. So I'll tell you, man, you want to see that triangle of I do and harmony get completely out of whack? Take somebody's phone away for 2 days.
Yeah, that won't. That'll cut off a lot of conversations for me. I see. Probably same for everybody.
I'll tell you, all my something I realized, all my codes was in my phone. Like I couldn't even get into my my emails, nothing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wind up writing all my codes somewhere, hide them away. It's just you know what I'm saying? Like I think like, man, thank God I was able to retrieve it all. And I know technology is great, but in these 2 days I wasn't able to function, not pass an email, not a nothing, because I don't remember any passwords.
Yeah, there's I use one I think called One Password or something. It's an app, but it's also on my MacBook. So anytime I need a password, I just log in one to get into the password protection or whatever they call it, gathering or hosting folder. I'm not sure what you call it, and it's there, which it's good to.
What's the app called?
I think it's called. Let me see. It's called Password or One Password. Let's see what it is here.
It's One Password.
One Password. Is that Bree?
That's Lenore.
Lenore? Hey, Lenore.
No, it was me.
Hey, Lenore.
No, it was
well, hi, but that was Jenny.
and me. It's also
hey,
me.
Lenore. Hey, Brianna.
Ah.
Hey, Pam. Hey, everybody.
Hey,
How's everybody doing?
hi.
Guys doing good?
Yeah.
That's good. That's my mom. I'd say maybe interesting things, but features of working in a float center is that, or even if you're a floater, you slow down. You don't really have a choice in the matter. Well, I mean, maybe in some sense you do. But the accumulation of float hours from your guys' perspective is mostly people who just, float recreationally, is that you slow down. From the other side of the reception desk, the same is definitely true. You slow down. And an interesting question, I guess, is why do you slow down? But maybe even a more interesting one is, so what? What does that really mean? In terms of like the why part, you remember we're showing a model of thought having a direction, okay? With that upside down pyramid that we've showed so many times. And we show it to get you guys to see that thought has a direction, and you could overlay or think of what Terry just put up, this chart, alongside another one that we've put up, which is a brainwave chart, and from the brainwaves, when you overlay or compare this chart to that one side by side, you see that the slower frequency brainwaves are the ones that are associated, well, with slowing down. When you go to bed at night, you start off generally with a fast-paced beta brainwave, and then you get you quiet down a little bit. You go into a meditative alpha state, and then a theta state, and then a dreamy delta state. Same thing in a tank. Through prolonged experience in the tank, you slow down. Through the work we do here, which is to say, through giving you guys the tools so that you can be more deliberate about how you go about the things you do in life. It's very much tank-like. We're really introducing that tank-like slow space and overlaying on it a language so that, well, you could make use of that. Now, we've been talking about the do function. And I think we've pointed out, maybe we did, maybe we didn't, but it's in the book for those that are reading it, that the tool that releases the energy that the do function governs. Remember, the tools came first. We did those before we moved over to functions. Tools are things we could pick up and get better at. Why would we want to get better at the tool of communication? Well, because as we get more effective at the tool of communication, we enable or allow, or the energies of do function start to express. Okay, but what the fuck does that all mean, and why would you even care about it, right? I mean, if you're like me, you pretty much, I don't know if you like me, but I thought I was adept at communication. I mean, lawyer, communication, you gotta get that done. But the thing is that for the most part, you don't know what it is you're actually communicating. How interesting is that thought? What do you mean I don't know what I'm communicating? Well, we saw conversations last night with Lenore, for example, where Elise had given her a hand. I think maybe it was Bree and Lenore, to point out that what it is that she was communicating was something that she might not have been aware of. I mean, here's how it works for me. Yeah, at the beginning, I wasn't, and I'm still sometimes caught off guard, but much, much less, because you're all communicating shit all the time. You are to your significant others, you are to your coworkers, your jobs, you're doing that. The question is, who's in control of that? Who really? Who's in control of your communication? Anybody want to venture a thought out there? Guess what you know, what you think, what you believe.
And so we're always talking about communication, and I know like you're talking to us about this communication, and it's a two-way street. You just feel sometimes like if the other person is not seeing the harmony I do function and aiming the triangle back at you, I'll tell you, it's hard to communicate. You know what I mean? Then it comes down to, I guess you really need to know these things in order to get them back in harmony.
Okay.
My question is,
go ahead.
My question is that why sometimes does the other person never see that? You know what I'm saying? Why are they always the blame?
Well, hold on. We're not. It's not a blame. It's a fact of perception. Going back to something we spoke about early on, that the best we can ever do is perceive, right? But we perceive through our senses. And so that raises the question of like, am I aware of it? We say it this way: you can't see what you're looking with, right? We gave Bree and Lenore a hand because people can't see what they're looking with. And so communication's active. If you can see what they're looking with, Ralph, why not give them a hand to see something that, well, if you can see what they're doing, what they're communicating, paying attention at that, well, I'll say at that slow place. But what I want you to see is really the question I posed is, where does your communication come from, Ralph? Where does it, and, what do you think, where does
It's
it
got to come from like the core, the soul, the spirit, no?
Yeah. Well, ideally it does and should, but it doesn't always. And the reason why, well, I'll ask you, how come you think it doesn't always?
Sometimes you want to tell a joke. That's not communication.
Well, how about this? Sometimes you got something going on that's programmatic, right? Something that you put in place that, well, you want to be nice to people, or that you want to be fair, or you want to be liked, or you want to be respected. And those kinds of thoughts arise all the way at the level of things you think are real. Those are beliefs. Those are like, you wrote that freaking code when you were little Ralph. And now little Ralph has an operating system code that has some thoughts in it that, well, like everybody, me, you, everybody, that may or may not line up with something that's real. May not, if you're, for me, it was a lot of not said. It was
A lot of what?
well, it was like things that weren't said. It was like an underlying almost anger that things had to be a certain way. So there wasn't communication, or not a deliberate kind of effective communication where I was exerting a level of deliberateness or control that we're getting you guys to see is possible if you implement this model. Okay, so if you slow it down, you can keep your ear and communicate from that level of soul. But to do that, you gotta take a look at the beliefs that are in the way, potentially. Well, they're all there. They're not so much in the way. The question is, which ones are you happy with and which ones aren't you happy with? That's not for me to say. It was for me to say for myself, but it's not for me to say for you, Ralph. I had to think about things like, damn, I'm Ken Kaplan, this nice guy. And then I had to really think about that and think about like things like, well, is it really that nice? This Kaplan family thing that we do where nobody says anything, is it as nice as I thought it was? And it's taken on a whole different perspective for me, because when I looked at it really close and thought about it and had an awareness of what I was doing, it seemed to be anything but nice, because the other, well, one way to look at that is like what Elise was pointing out last night, that, if you're not, if you're, if you're being a little girl, then, it may seem cutesy and nice, but from the other person's perspective, what the fuck's on this person's mind? Why don't they just tell me what's on their mind? Like, why beat around the bush or kid about that? And I butted my freaking head against that more times than I care to recount. We'd have to do a whole 20-week series on Kaplan headbutting, against those kinds of programs that I'm talking to you about. So yeah, you asked the question like, why can't that person? The hell, it almost sounds like the hell's wrong with that person on the other side, you asked. And my question to you is, well, you're the guy that's communicating. Get in charge of what you get your house in order, see what you're communicating, and then give the other person a hand, because let's keep in mind that's what we're doing with you here, and nobody can see what they're doing. You can't, because you're looking at the world through it. It's like if I, if I gave you a pair of glasses that colored the world as rose-colored, you'd swear on a stack of Bibles that the world was rose-colored until some other person said, Ralph, it ain't rose-colored. And even then, you might say, man, motherfucker, it's rose-colored. Say, no, it ain't rose-colored, dude. So I'm trying to get you to see that, no, it ain't, it may not be rose-colored.
So what do I got going on? Because sometimes, Ken, I think nice is not the adjective people might describe me as. I'm nice to you. I'm nice to some people.
Yeah. I don't think so. I'm not. It might not be. I kind of get that. It may be almost like you've talked about like, don't trample on me, or I deserve, or I'm entitled to, or I'm.
It's a lot like, I'll mind my business, you mind your motherfucker business, and don't fucking cross my ass. Put my ass down, and let's go visit about that right here, right now, huh? Like some guy.
I'll tell you.
Like some guy dissing you at when you the man at the restaurant, at a supply place.
Yeah.
Is anybody else having a very bad connection here? Because I keep losing you guys.
I have heard Ralph, and now I can hear John, and now I can hear you. Those are my facts. Who else?
It's
Ditto.
good on my end, so
What's
it's
that?
fine on my end.
I can hear everybody fine, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just me then. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I've missed a whole bunch of information, so whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe you didn't.
Like
Go ahead.
zing.
This is coming back around. Not to worry. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, Ralph.
Wow.
You think,
Is anything being said? Because I cannot hear anything.
You can't hear.
Yep.
Stuff's being
Should
said.
should I go out and come back in or something?
Yes.
That would be a good thing to do.
Okay, that's what I'll do. Thanks.
Okay. All right. What do you think about that, Ralph?
I think there's some validity. What were we just saying? We're talking about, yeah. I guess when I have that feeling of, yeah, cross me, then that's it. We can't be friends anymore. And I guess some of that is that pent up stuff that you kind of keep down, and like that'll get me off to the races. And that's really what I'm trying to figure out. Why does this feeling ever come out? You know what I'm saying? Like,
stop for a second. Think about it this way. It's a frustration. It isn't an anger.
Okay.
An anger requires a threat to be present. And it's like in that instance that you talked about with where that frustration came up, and you were ready to take the little fucker's head off. What do you mean you didn't do anything? I didn't say you did anything. I just want to take your head off. When you get that kind of feeling going on, that's a frustration. That's not anger. You're not mad at the guy. You're frustrated within yourself about something.
It's finding out.
Gary, you don't get past your pay grade here. Yeah, go ahead, Ralph.
What'd she say?
It's all right.
I didn't hear what she said.
Yeah, it's okay.
It wasn't
okay,
anything.
Ralph.
She didn't say anything at all. Believe me.
Yeah.
How do I keep that frustration not at bay, but eliminate it?
Yeah. That's what I'm going with that. Here's the thing, Ralph. You have to understand this idea here. Communication does something. It doesn't pick up the bag of rice and put it on your shoulder and drop it in your truck. But it allows you to be able to pick up that bag of rice and put it in your truck. The communication is what does that really. And the communication is in all kinds of things. Would you get this for me? Will you keep this on stock? I use it. Here's some money for it. You know me. You send me the bill at the end of the month. Whatever the hell the arrangements are. I've been buying here since God was a lieutenant and Christ was a corporal. Don't give me any shit here. You know whatever is going on there is what's going on, and it's like you know what that is and you know what it's about. Now, the thing is that those things are what you do because you communicate about it. You do the same thing with your clients, with your help at the restaurant. You make a statement in the restaurant, and the statement includes such things as, please come back. You're at your home. You can bet the meal's going to taste the way the meal's going to taste. I'm going to throw surprises at you that you're going to like just as much. If I like you, I'm going to take care of you. You're loyal to me, I'm loyal to you. All of those things are part of what you do. But it's all about what you're saying to people, what you're communicating with them about, the information that you're demonstrating that you possess. That's what gives you the power to accomplish what you're accomplishing, because you have that ability to communicate information to that wide range of people, the help, the supplier, and the client. Okay. Do function always requires that. Now, for instance, if somebody comes into your store and they say, "Hey, Ralph, I'm a cook, and you need a cook, you need me." What you're going to do is you're going to say, "Okay, there's some pots and pans, there's a whatever, show me." In whatever way you do that. Now, you may ask them 3 questions, and you may put the little motherfucker over there to cook you up some scrambled eggs and bacon. I don't know. But you're going to ask him to do something to demonstrate his knowledge. And he's going to be able to answer and do that thing exactly where you want it to be done, or you ain't interested in him, or he better be damn close enough for horseshoes, or it ain't going to count. If he ain't that close, he probably ain't worth the time you're going to take. It's going to take to train his butt. He can go let somebody else train his ass. He's still trainable. If the client comes in, you're going to do exactly that same thing. You're going to nail them exactly between where they're empathetic and where they're intuitive, and they're going to say, I like coming here, Ralph, because every time I come here, I can look forward to getting and fill in the blank. Whatever they're coming there for, every time that they come, they get that thing, whether it's attention, whether it's service, whether it's food a certain way, whether it's C, all of the above, whether it's triple Z, and all of that above. They're getting that thing that you're guaranteeing, that you're telling them that's there, the reality that you create for them, with all of the agreements that you hold with all of the people, all of your suppliers, with your wife, with your kids, with your family, with your neighborhood, etc. That's all obvious in the things that you do because of what you believe. Like, for instance, you were the guy that said, "Look, these are people out here hurting. I can get toilet paper. I can get this stuff. It doesn't look the same, but if they want it, I can deliver it to them." Because you're thinking about somebody else, not about you. And so what did you do? You did exactly what they needed. Now, that's what reality creation is all about, dude. You just don't have a way of talking about it.
Apparently,
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
yeah. I was going to say, yeah, apparently now included. I know that the concepts are relatively new, but
What Ken's telling you, Ralph, is that every time I go through this, I lose him just like I lost you right there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so let me take that a little bit and maybe just kind of riff off it. I know frustration too. I know that really well. For me, it was, or it had this aspect of things were supposed to be a certain way. That's a really big thought because that's a really judgy kind of thought, right? Supposed to be. That could be things like, you're supposed to know this, or you're supposed to treat me a certain way.
What are you saying, Ken? The world's not the way I think it's supposed to be? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, is that a whole boatload of frustration came in that whole big bottle of supposed to be's. But like, dude, it really has to be the way that I'm supposed to be? I mean, I found a lot of resolution and freedom and enjoyment of other people, and no, it doesn't have to. They're people. They're gonna do their thing too, and it probably is blind to concepts as I've been. Definitely. Okay. Cool. Give 'em a hand. Or I could beat the shit out of them, but that was not. That was not. That was part of the frustration. You get my drift, Ralph?
I do. I think about like, a couple years ago, I split up with my business partner, and I think about how these triangles were probably affecting us, and maybe how neither of us were in like harmony and couldn't communicate, and think about the outcome. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like, I think, man, if I could rewind the hands of time, and now, and I'm no pro at this, but I am trying to change my assemblage point, via your guys' perspective. And I just think like, you're right on with the communicating. I just think that if I could have got my triangle lined up a couple of years ago with my ex-partner, who knows if he would have still been my ex-partner. But I do know that we were definitely, the triangles weren't firing right, because, we were talking madness.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you. That's that may or may not be true in terms of where you'd be now, but it's one of those things that I bet everybody on this call and everybody you can ever talk to would potentially have a list of things like that. So it falls in the category of, if I knew better, I would have done better. Now I do. So now you know a little better. Tomorrow,
So now,
you'll know even better.
So now, Ken, you know better. How do you deal with your frustrations? Again, are they at bay, or are they gone?
I'd say that it's a order of magnitude, a noticeable order of magnitude, way less. Way less. Like, yeah, I can. The first thing was like even being able to deal with that, looking at stuff for myself. Right, and if people strangely, but maybe not so strangely, find that challenging. You point out something about them, and all of a sudden, radio silence. It's just like, where'd you go? Yeah, been there, have done that. Not not a feature really. I mean, and I'm not saying that that there aren't some strands and things there, but nothing like it was in terms of like, yeah, I I'll talk to you about all of the places where I've had experience, but for me to the only thing I could talk to people about is that experience. The only thing I really have to call upon now, not the is the experiences I've had, lots of which, like a lot of you, have been colorful, to say the least. If not more accurate, had some pitfalls and potholes that you fell in and, bruised your head in. Okay, great, fine. No problem. I don't mind at all. But I don't mind for me. I don't mind for them either. Live and let live. It takes away the whole supposed to be's thing. Right?
The girl Jenny, when she was talking about her mom, you remember the story she was saying that she felt an embarrassment for her parents being immigrants, and it made her shy, and she had to get over that.
Yep.
Okay. So like for Jenny, like what I wonder, because she says that it took her a long time to kind of recognize that and get over it. So just like you, because I feel like something's at that with me. Like I'm not shy. Maybe it made me the reverse, like over talkative. But I do feel that there's something there with like I don't know, like an embarrassment, an annoyance that we were immigrants and we didn't get the respect. My parents didn't get the respect of like a normal American. And I feel like that's where my struggle is. And I just got to figure out, I guess, the memories that are tying to this. But at the end of the day, is it something that's at bay or is it like gone? Is it vanquished?
Okay. Well,
Alf, maybe I can help you out here. It's Jenny.
That'd be the Jenny you referred to.
Sorry, we're doing brush teeth, So, when I was saying that it took me a while, it took me a while to see all the facets of just that one program. I mean, I did a rewrite with John years ago now, but from that one incident, that one memory that I had, it was tumultuous. It was like, okay, I could see it play out here in my life. I'm 41 years old, Well, I'll be 41. A week, what's the difference, right? But
hey, stop bragging, okay? Youngin.
But the thing is that I had to see all the areas for me, I had to turn over every stone. I couldn't just let things go. So I ran through them over and over and over again until I see different areas just in my love life, but in, where I played them out in work and how I was embarrassed or felt sorry for myself all of the freaking time. So that's why it took so long. Is because once I found one area, I'd run into another. But in the course of rewriting those things, I had to see how they played out, and then I guess recognize how stupid it was and then be able to change it.
So how long ago was like the rewrite till now?
Years.
Okay, so would you say that you feel different now than you did then about these things?
I was an angry, rebellious little bitch.
Wow.
Yes.
You were very good at it too, weren't you?
Can I count the way?
So now, like, what I'm curious is, and when these things that set us off to the races, because I know, like, there are always little things, whatever the frustrations are for me, for Ken, for you in this. Again, is there something that now it's so different? These things mean they're so insignificant these past memories, these, you know, these feelings that when the item comes up, it's like rolls off your back
It's not like,
without pain. That
yeah, it's not that the memory, it's I don't know if you've watched yet. If you haven't watched we'll send you another link to a YouTube video called Memory Hackers, which talks about changing the memory, but you know, you're really tweaking it. You had experiences growing up as an immigrant kid, like a lot of people, and you put a certain color, a certain charge, a certain there's a certain aspect of that memory for you. Like there's a certain aspect of memories for me that then generates that frustration.
Ken, I know somebody that could help Ralph out with this quite a bit. Just sitting over here, name is Sandy.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Hey, Sandy.
who's Sandy?
This is
Yeah.
Sandy. Say hi, Sandy.
Oh, they can't see me, that's why.
Well, say hi, Sandy.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Sandy. I'm down here at Casa de Artes Mentales in Mexico and work with John. I run the float center here. I've been listening. I just hadn't been participating. But overall, Ralph, for me, I can understand what you're talking about because, as well, most of the guys here, the facilitators, know my story. When I got here, I was having tremors, as in seizures. I didn't black out because it's not epilepsy. It was literally just seizures caused by me. To the point where I couldn't drive. I broke my arm. I had multiple accidents. And that was only to get my attention to say, here, you're an angry bitch. And the seizures were a reflection of my anger towards my mom. And so I was angry with her because she left to go to the US and left me with my aunts, and I was an obnoxious kid, so I went from one home to the other, and that anger just went. I blamed her for me being obnoxious and going to different homes. So when she came back, I was already pissed off. I was already upset with her, and until she passed away, I was pretty upset with her still. For that reason, because I thought it was her fault that I had gone through different houses and different experiences. And so that anger just built up. And I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't do anybody until it exploded into seizures. So if you realize what a seizure really is, whether it's epileptic or not, for me, it was a little girl falling on the floor, kicking the floor, saying, I want mommy's attention. That's what kids do. They fall, they cry, and the first person that's going to pick them up is mommy. So my mommy had to go pick me up, right? But I was old enough that it was ridiculous. And I was still doing it. So I did my rewrite. I went through the classes and everything. And I can tell you that at this point in time, I can control them. I can prevent them. And the medication I take that I used to take was very little. But compared to where I am now and where I was before, it's a life-changing experience for me. So yeah, you do change one memory at a time. You adjust it one by one by one. John calls it, like when he explained it to me, he said it's like an onion. There's a full onion, so you have to peel it and peel it off and peel it off piece by piece and so on. So that's what I did with that anger. I had to look into it at some scary places, and I didn't want to, because it was not my mom. It was me who put those seizures there. It was not her. I did it. I was a pissy little girl. I turned out to be an angry bitch, but she did not put that program in place. I did, and that's what I did not want to see.
Well, thanks for sharing. That's I tell you, I think I got to take something away from that. That's a good perspective. I don't know, Ken. I feel like in some way, I don't know if it's I'm frustrated or angry at my mom or parents, but I don't know. Like as she was telling me that, I feel like that's what's on my heart right now.
Yeah.
What's on your heart?
That you know what? I think that these things that are making me angry or frustrated, or might lead back to, again, like what Jenny, what you're saying. I have, I don't want to justify it because I'm in an open group, but it might be because I might ultimately feel pissed off, angry at them for not giving me something that I may feel like I should want. And now maybe my anger is not showing like your guys. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, I'm not lashing at anywhere, but I know when it happens inside me. You know what I'm saying? But with hearing your story about you being upset for your mom makes me think back at what my childhood is and was, and I mean same thing. We were immigrants, kids in Hoboken, and I'm sure the attention had to be more on life than it was her kids, especially me, the middle child. And you telling that story just I don't know, it opened up some things for me in my mind.
I never met your mom and dad, obviously, but I know some pretty key things about them, and I bet my life on some of those key things about them. I know that they raised you, and I know that they raised you to be the guy you are now. Damn, from immigrant parents, and get any fucking better than that, dude.
I know.
Doesn't get any better than that. Yeah.
It's like you meet my mom. She's the sweetest lady, but it's like these programs that we're talking about is fucking real because you know what? The sweet lady that she is, inadvertently, unintentionally, I'm writing programs that, you know what I mean, is probably it's a probably desire for attention as a child because I feel like there was no time for me growing up. And I had to grow up quick because again, if you don't grow up quick, it was just a weird time. You know what I mean? It's I remember like as a 5-year-old, I would walk to school alone. What 5-year-old does that?
Yeah. Good.
But I know, I've always lived the mentality that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And
yeah, I understand that. Can you find a place to be thankful for all of those gifts you got?
I'm not sure that's the issue here. The issue is that what do you do with that? In other words, Ralph, in lots of ways, in lots and lots of ways, something that you've done with that whole event is that you've made it into something that it wasn't originally.
that's exactly what I think. I made it into something it's not. What the fuck why am I pissed off at these guys? I think about now, my life, raising my kids, thinking, fuck, what my parents went through. And these guys, they had something special. You know what I mean? And what the hell am I pissed off for? But I don't even know if I would have ever thought about it until that lady just talked about her saying she was pissed off at her mom.
Yeah, well, it's been quite a struggle for her, actually. It was quite an adventure because at one time I watched her kick the floor every 3 or 4 minutes for a couple minutes at a time for damn near 36 hours. Jenny was there, Elise was there. Now she doesn't do that at all.
Yeah, and that's what I find amazing. Like, and I don't want to play her story down. I'm not at that level, so I feel for her. I mean, so I think, man, if she can, think to herself and make herself, figure that out about herself, then we could do anything with our brains.
Well, that's what floating in classes are about, Ralph.
That's what I'm finding out.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing that you can do with your people too. Because if you think about it, the reason why they're not more productive is because they have something like this going on in their life.
Yeah. Like, with staff in mind, I think, because again, the different crews, I noticed the crews that are really connecting, communicating at whatever level, they don't even know how they're communicating, but they really click good. They work good. And sometimes I get other crews, like everybody's got talents, but the crew doesn't communicate as great, doesn't last forever. You know what I mean? Short-lived. They do the job, but they're forcing to do it. Whereas that's where I see that this with Ken and floating and, rewrites and intro, that's a helpful thing, to kind of get everybody on the same page, not just communicate with yourself and your thoughts, communicate with each other.
Let me tell you something about this, Ralph, okay? Just so you think about it clearly, okay? One of the things that happens quite often, like for instance, I've done a lot of classes for businesses online even. And what happens is that when I get done with an intro class, people who aren't happy with the job leave. And the boss can get pissy with me about that. But if the boss is thinking about it, he doesn't want those people there because they're costing him. I don't care what he thinks they are doing. They're costing him. They're working against him. They don't want to be there.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure you deliver results. And ultimately, that's what I think people want to, people will invest in something that they can see results. And I tell you, I mean, and I'm as hard-headed as they come, Ken. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of know me, but you don't. But maybe you kind of know who I am because you know what type of person I am. And I'll tell you, after a couple of months, this shit's really, it's really kind of circulating now. You know what I mean? It's like, it's in my thought daily. It's no longer that like, like whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of in there, and I think that's where these kind of thoughts start. It's got to be in your head daily, and then really, you these new programs that you're writing, they can take over. They do take over. Look, this lady doesn't have seizures anymore. They take over.
Yeah.
Of course they do. You grow new synapses.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what actually happens.
Yeah.
It's a physical attribute of the brain. Whenever you remember something, if you can pull the memory up and you pull up, you examine it, and you say, well, I can remember that differently, or even if I name it differently, new synapses are grown.
Memory Hackers, YouTube, about 50 minutes long. Watch it.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
And the guys today, like today, what today you're talking to my guys. 15 minutes today, yesterday,
yeah.
And those guys very interested. Like, oh, we didn't know that's floating.
Yeah.
Like that's my point. It's like, I don't know. You get somebody's a float feels like it's just a wellness thing. Once you start talking about this, it gets people's attention. Especially if you're like, I don't know, when you were talking to these guys, you were really straight up about it. I think that those guys are hook, line, and sinker, as they should be.
Yeah. Let's get them into float, all of them.
So then, what are the tools? We talk about tools. Are there more tools?
No, okay, Ralph. There are 8 tools that correspond with 8 functions. Put the triangle, the double triangle up, will you, Terry? If you can. Okay, there we go. All right. The functions are B1 function, harmony function, do function, specific function, natural mind function, empathy function, intuition function, and agreement function. Those are the functions.
Yeah.
If you address programming,
mm-hmm.
that's a tool. what programming does is it makes you think about being at one with yourself. That's what you're reporting right now, Ralph.
Yeah.
Because and you're saying that, even you're actually using that wording. You say, okay, I'm maybe these programs are sticking, and yeah, they are running out, and yes, I am thinking about there, and yes, it's in there, and it is working now. Yeah, okay, that's right. That's how it works. And so you're experiencing B1, the B1 function as it expresses out into the world for you. I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm always shocked about it, and it's just fun. Harmony function is also being expressed because what harmony function is about is moving the assemblage point, and you're looking at things from a different place. You're saying, if you just said that a moment ago. You said, I'm looking at things differently than what I did before. This is actually in my mind, and I'm using it, and I'm thinking about it. So that means that harmony function is beginning to express for you. And so harmony function is, and how do we know that? Because you're saying things like, okay, guys, come over here, talk to Ken. Ken, talk to these guys here about what floating is, but explain it to them. So you and Ken are in harmony to get your business even better than what it is, because you can see where you can solve some problems, maybe for yourself, or maybe for your people, maybe just because you're an honest man, maybe because you're a noble, honorable person. I don't know. But it doesn't make any difference. That's the action that comes out of it anyway. And so what happens is that you communicate with people and you do things. Like right now, what you're doing is you're making a difference for everybody who's listening. Now, that's partly to do with your specific function, because when you're at one, you're Ralph, the wonderful host, the Ralph, the let me understand what's going on in the world here and see if I can solve this for you. Let me help you out with this, because I'm good at solving problems. I'm a middle kid. I've been solving problems since I was knee high to a grasshopper. Nobody else in the family could do it, just me. Which was part of your natural mind function. You just never let go of that whole place where you could pretend and you could imagine and you could play and you could do whatever you fucking wanted. Nobody came around and said, hey, Ralph, you can't do that. You were a middle kid. You could do whatever the fuck you wanted. You weren't the baby and you weren't the oldest. The oldest got all the shit. The baby got by with everything. You're in the middle. You got to do whatever the fuck you wanted, as long as you stayed within the rules. Okay, so that means that you have to have empathy for the oldest kid that's getting all the shit, and for the younger kid that's getting by with everything, and how they're at one or not. Which means that you're going to intuitively know what to talk to them about, so that they can solve the problem, so they're not getting into shit all the time because of whatever they are. Now, that's just something that you do. That something is there that you've taken into a business and made it a restaurant. In fact, you've made it a chain of restaurants. You've made it a chain of restaurants with a wonderful reputation, because you exist and live and say, you know what, in my world, when you come to my house, this is the reality that I've created for you to visit. It's not Disney World, but you know what? It's pretty fucking sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, that's one way to think about it, huh?
Yeah, that is. You know what? That puts that chart into, it really explains that flow chart for me, because I've been looking at this thing now for weeks,
Yeah.
And now I can almost understand, like, you were frustrated with me weeks back on the one thing that was part of that. So it's like, that's minute in the grand scheme. So now I look back like, damn, you're right. You can't waste too much time on something that's so minute,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The assemblage point. It's I like, you know what I'm saying? I have to agree. As it moves, we get better.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We're able to be more in harmony is the thing. That's the function that comes about from moving the assemblage point, because you start seeing other ways. Oh fuck, I see how to solve this problem. I mean, that's middle kids are great at that usually.
Go figure.
Yeah.
So Ralph, would you say that John just lent you a point of view?
Yeah, I would have to say so.
Well, if you can actually treat the world as though that point of view were real, you'd be talking about moving your assemblage point.
Well, but you're going at it a little. That's a hard shot. It's easy to make the bank shot here, Ken. Paul.
True.
That's a hard angle that you're hitting there.
Go ahead.
You're still going to try to bank this in, and I'm telling you that there's a better percentage shot. Okay. All right, Ralph. What he's trying to say is this: is that look, what this is this defines a language, as it were. It gives you a way to think about these concepts. In other words, what this chart, or this, whatever you want to call it, this confusing picture does, is that it gives us a way, if once you can decode it, it gives us a way to be able to refer to an enormous abstraction with individual parts, so that we can manage the abstraction, which is essentially what all language does. And so what we're doing is we're creating a language that allows us to talk about something that we all express, but we don't know that we express it, nor do we know what we do that helps us to express it. And we're all playing blind man's bluff, because we can't see through this thing. We don't see it happening because we don't have a language to define it. But where it got lost in the Jesuits and the popes and the Templars and Crusades and Muslims and Christians and Jews, and oh God Almighty, it got lost in a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
But it's there, okay. We all do this. We just forgot how to talk about it, is all. That's what I'm trying to say in the Office of Shaman. There always were people who could understood this thing and could explain it to other people. There had to be, because we all do it. I see the same kinds of patterns in Navajo sand paintings and mandalas and all kinds of shit all over the world. It's divided up into north and south and east and west, and an XY axis, but actually has a Z axis with it that you can't see on two dimensions.
Yeah. Well, it puts a whole different way to think about language and the purpose it serves.
Well, it really kind of it does. I mean, when you look at Picasso's that blue guitar guy I mean, you understand that what he's doing is he's listening to that he's remembering a particular event in his life. Even if you don't understand it, you remember an event in your life that has all those same melancholy tones and feelings and shapes to it when you remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so it's like that's a symbol. That's what a word is. It's a symbol. It's an abstract symbol for something, right?
Yep.
And so we've been trained to look at all of our at abstract symbols as being words only, and they're not. They're actually these abstract ideas. I mean, we all know what a chair is, for instance, right? But how many different kinds of chairs are there? I mean, try to design an original chair. I dare you. There are a cajillion chairs that you can buy on Amazon this moment, and none of them are the same. Mm-hmm. Some of them might even be comfortable. Who knows? But the thing is they're all overpriced though. But the thing is that chairs this huge abstract idea, but we all use it. We all can put that idea into that word basket called chair. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to do here is give you a word basket called the playing field, so that you can put these abstract concepts of how relationships make real things in our lives.
Yeah.
In an abstract chair, as it were, or map, perhaps. Even though that the map's not the thing.
Yep.
I hope that helped you out there, Ralph.
It did. I'm looking at this chart again because again, this is another chart that's been up, and now I'm really putting this and the triangles together. It's I learned a lot tonight. I'm telling you, very interesting class tonight.
Cool. Tomorrow we're going to get into specific function, and John pointed some of that out about kind of like who is Ralph? What does Ralph do? So people have a specific function. And they can improve the way that expresses. Okay? Sound good?
Cool.
Sounds good.
So then we will see you. I'll see you tomorrow at 8. Cool? Sound good?
Good night, guys.
Okie dokie.
All right, see you then. Bye, guys.
Good night.
Thanks all. Thanks.